There are many mistakes you can make as an entrepreneur, but there are only 3 that can literally ruin your life. So here is my take on what not to do in your life as an entrepreneur. My name is Darius Lucas, and I'm here to help you build an online business that gives you freedom, leverages AI tools, and is connected to your ikigai, the reason for being. You're going to live forever. So when I was 18 years old, my cousin, who was 20 years old at the time, died in a car crash. And I remember obviously that being probably the most shocking experience that I've had within my family, and realizing how fragile life is, and that you can be here one day and the next day you may just be gone. Besides, that being traumatizing in itself, as a young man, as a young adult, going through that experience and losing your loved one, that event and that story became my North Star in life, as weird as it sounds. And I realized that regardless of my age, I may be gone at any time. And that was why I had to live the life like it wasn't infinite, but that I had to live my life with the full understanding that it is finite. That sooner or later, whether I'm 80, 70, 40 or whatever, things are going to end. And because of that reason, I have to take risks in my life. I have to become the man that I want to become. I have to build up businesses that I want to build. For that very reason, I can and should and will, and I have done so far, build businesses that freedom generating, that give me the location freedom. Because of that reason, I have to stand up and be myself and not live out the subconscious scenarios and scripts that had been passed on to me by my family. And now whenever I am faced with a decision, with a question, with a challenge in life, and asking myself what to do next, is this the right thing to do? Should I risk this? This event of losing my cousin at the age of 18, with him being just 20 years old, it then comes up and it gives me this reality check, and it helps me take risks in my life. It helps me build that other business, to just take a portion of my capital and invest it into an idea that I have for myself, or pack up my bags and move to yet another country, or do something else that I deem of value and importance in my life, because I know that it is so fragile of things coming to an end in life sooner or later. So that notion that all things pass on and die and dissipate in life is not nihilist, is not negative. On the contrary, it's quite inspiring, because it invites me to do more and to be more and to show up in my life to the fullest, realizing that I don't have a single day to waste. Make your mama proud. I think what a lot of us don't see and don't quite understand until, I guess, one starts going to therapy, is that a lot of our behavior, a lot of our choices and decisions in life boil down to expectations that had been passed on to us and placed onto us by our parents, because we are subconsciously trying to prove something to them and to get their love and get the approval that we possibly didn't quite get as a child. Or subconsciously we feel that we will be more loved and more accepted if they approve of our decisions. And how many times I see my friends, trying to sort of get married as soon as possible because their parents are really expecting that of them. Or they're having children just because their parents keep nagging them each time they come around. Or somebody getting a medical degree just because their parents are a doctor and they wouldn't want to upset them by getting an arts degree, for example. But the thing is that if you try to please your mommy or daddy, consciously or subconsciously, through your life decisions, is that you're setting yourself up for the life of disappointment and for the life of compromise. So for example, there were so many times in my life where my parents didn't approve of a lot of choices that I made. So one was, choosing a career in arts to start with. They were very unhappy about it because they thought I was gonna end up dying out of starvation and make no money that way. They also thought that the fact that I'm gay was somewhat wrong. And I had to just stand up and say, well, that's who I am. I am this person who wants to study arts. I am gay, and I'm gonna live my life to the fullest. And I'm not gonna play by the rules or expectations, what other people say, scenarios. I'm actually gonna look at myself, and however difficult that may be, because it's never easy to object your parental figures in life, I'm just gonna do what I need to do with my life to be living out my truth. As simple as that. And now looking back, I see that just because I chose the sort of the harder path, the more difficult path that did not involve compromise, and at the time it was harder, the reward later on was much greater. Because what happens is that you are living with full integrity. So for you to then build up a business, to lead a team, to come up with a new revenue stream becomes easy because you know how to be bold in your life. You know that you are in charge of your destiny, as corny as it sounds, and nobody out there will be able to tell you otherwise. You know, whether it is your parents or your friend or your colleague, it's super important in life not to play out their wishes. It does not quite matter what their expectation of you. What matters the most in life is what your expectation of you is, and fulfilling that expectation. And that's the only thing that will guarantee your success in life and in business. Don't risk anything. Now, the safer you play the society's game, the more the society loves you. So if you take out a mortgage, if you pay taxes, if you get a safe job, society will reward you to an extent. You may be living paycheck to paycheck, but everybody around you and society at large will be happy that you are just like them. Now, being a maverick or being a risk taker or being, an adventurous person is usually admired, but to an extent. People don't want to be sort of challenged by seeing somebody who has decided to pursue what they love, who has decided to live out their life to the fullest, because that is a constant reminder that they are not doing the same. So whether it's business or life, taking personal risks, taking business risks is vital if you really are out there to build something true, something real, something authentic. Now, if you train yourself to take risks, you'll see that you are starting to shape a life for yourself that is different to others, but it is rewarding to yourself, because the risks that you will usually want to take will be the things that you are really desiring to do. So for example, I moved to Bali with $100, but I knew that was what I had to do, and that risk really paid off. Now, I didn't know that at the time. I was absolutely sort of walking into the dark. However, that really paid off. Or when I was moving to England to study theater directing, everybody around me said, hey, well, you're not going to make any money out of it. It's going to be a disaster. And I remember looking at these people and thinking, no, whatever happens, I'm going to make it work. I'm going to take that risk because that is my calling. And hey, later on, my calling did change and I ended up sort of studying theater directing and then dropping the whole thing. But all the skills and everything else that I've learned as part of that course gave me a massive boost in building my businesses. But what I would say has been my most adamant decision and a risk of sorts was that I was not going to have a job that ties me down to a place, end up being enslaved in one geographical location. And I remember having my first and my last proper job that was in 2011, and I worked at a private school in London. I just remember looking at myself there, commuting to work, struggling and thinking that isn't going to be my life. I'm going to set it up in a way that I will not have to have a proper job. And yes, for years I may struggle, but sooner or later I will build it up for myself. I will build my life up for myself because I believe that this is not meant for me. I mean, I can't just be playing safe because there is much more out there. And that belief was what led me to start multiple businesses and take risk after risk. And some paid off and some didn't, and that's fine. But if you can't take risks as an entrepreneur or as a human being, is it really worth living and just being complacent? Because the risks that we often take, again, are our heart's desire. And if you found this video of interest, click above or below or wherever on the screen and watch the video where I talk about how I bought into this flawed societal dream that you need to retire as soon as possible and, make that your sort of dream life goal. And I share with you the dark side of what had happened when I actually achieved it. So if you want more insight into what matters in business and life, just have a watch, and I'll see you in the next video.